everyone, welcome to the Clueless Sports Dad podcast, your go-to source for all things sports, minus the expertise. Get ready to embrace your inner cluelessness and join us on this wild sports journey. Let the cluelessness begin.
Welcome in, everyone. I'm your host, Eric. Don't forget to subscribe and comment down below. Today, we have a special guest, lifelong fan and UCF alumni, Travous Dever. Welcome in, Travis.
Thanks. How we doing?
I'm doing fantastic. So we got some great topics to go over today. We're going to find out from Travis exactly how he became a fan. We're going to do a little season recap from last year. We're going to talk a little bit about the spring game. We're also going to get into the outlook of this upcoming season, featuring the quarterback situation there, the move to the Big 12, the schedule run through, and what our expectations are for this year from the UCF football team. So with that being said, Travis, how and why did you become a fan of UCF football?
So the honest truth is I couldn't get into Florida State or Florida, so I ended up at UCF for college. Yeah, no, seriously, we live an hour away, so it was a pretty convenient school back in the day. Nothing like it is today. I mean, the standards today, I would never get in. So so that's how we kind of got started with that, and grew up a Florida State kid, and ended up at UCF, and just kind of fell in love with college football, to be honest.
That's amazing. So what was your first game experience that you can really remember ever attending?
In college, definitely. They used to play at the Citrus Bowl. So we would, lug kegs across Orlando, from the east side of Orlando to downtown, and sit out in the field and have a tailgate party and go into the games. I mean, but back then it was the Citrus Bowl. It was just after Dante Culpepper had left, and so this was like 1999 to 2002. So it was an interesting time for sure, because they were still are a very young D1 program, had just gone D1 in the mid 90s. So really just an up and coming program at the time.
What's that fan experience over there, like the tailgating and stuff like that? I've never actually been tailgating to a college football game yet. That's something that's on my bucket list still. But what's it like at UCF over there?
Yeah, it's honestly one of my favorite things to do. I've already got my entire schedule planned out for that. So the great part about the UCF, the way it's set up, is it's an on-campus stadium. So being that everybody is on campus tailgating, it's not spread out across the town. So for instance, like let's use Florida as an example. That is an old campus built in the middle of a town. It's spread out with traffic flow and all this other stuff that kind of comes with being in the middle of a city. UCF is its own city. They shut down the roadways. They have parking. They have tailgating areas. They have RV areas. Everything is centralized onto campus. So the experience of being there is totally different. You got 50,000 people tailgating on one spot instead of spread out across town. So it's a pretty unique experience.
That's great. That's amazing. I definitely got to get over there for that game.
For sure. I mean, my schedule is I leave Friday evening, pack the RV up. We get there Friday night, tailgate Friday night, set up Saturday. We have a group meets us Saturday. We've got an old tailgate bus, old Bluebird school bus that we converted. They bring 20 people over, and we tailgate all day, and they go home, and I go home Sunday. So it's a good time. I make my weekend of it living on campus.
That's amazing. So over all the years that you've watched them play, is there one game or one memory that absolutely stands out in your mind?
Yeah, I'd say probably the first home game when we opened the stadium against Texas. They were like number 2 in the country. We had them beat to the last minute. Fighters flying over. It was for us. It was just it was a huge step, and great memory to be there for the opening game. Probably the other game that I'll never forget was beating Auburn up in Georgia, going undefeated that season. Watching Mackenzie Milton, these guys, claim a national championship, and we were undefeated. We beat the only other team that had beat Alabama that year. So that was a heck of a year, and it was a good publicity stunt. So it worked well. It still has people talking about it, and now it's been like 7 years.
Yeah, that's one thing that kind of gets me with UCF fans that what I call self-proclaimed national title. I think the only other time in history that two teams, at least from my knowledge, two teams were ever crowned national title wasn't that the USC in Texas?
Yeah, there was like a tie, or there was something. Yeah, I mean, this was a publicity stunt. I mean, it worked. If you saw the numbers of like viewings and just the interactions on social media that it creates by doing something like that, it really helped put them on the map in the national spotlight, whether they liked it or not, the people like it or not, it did its job in the background. So
that's great. I bet it helps with recruiting big time too.
The more your name's out there, whether people are talking good or bad, it doesn't matter. Your name's out there in the national spotlight, and you have to get there at some point somehow. So,
all right. So now we're going to dive into a little recap from last season. All right, we're going to talk about the record and stuff like that. Last year they were 6-2 in their conference, 9-5 overall. What do you think happened? Where did they fall off? How do they catch back up going into this next season?
So the quarterback was the probably our biggest concern last year issue. John Rice Plumlee came in as a transfer. We didn't really have a quarterback because what was his name that transferred to Oklahoma? I wanted to put him out of my memory. I forgot. He was supposed to be our quarterback. And then Coach Levy, our offensive coordinator, got the job with Oklahoma, grabbed our quarterback. So when he left, we kind of were in a bad spot because we didn't really have a true starting backup. We did get the transfers from John Rice Plumlee. He's a great quarterback. And I think this year he's going to be okay. Gus Malzahn brought him in. It really just he didn't fit with Malzahn's offense. And Malzahn, though, made a huge move in this offseason and has stepped down as the call player. First time in his coaching career, he's not going to be calling all the plays. So he has brought in Darren Henshaw, who's a former UCF quarterback, one of the best quarterback coaches in the country. He's now the offensive coordinator, and he's going to be calling the calls. And he runs a very fast, very mobile offense where Malzahn really focused on ground and pound, kind of that SEC, big running backs. And I think Plumlee's going to fit this mold. And from what we're hearing, he's the inevitable starter unless there's an injury. We're not even hearing of our backup quarterbacks at this point, to be honest. It's seems like it's his team to lead into the season.
Now that we're jumping right into this upcoming season, let's talk a little bit about Plumlee. And I can kind of jump on what you're saying there and kind of see in 13 games. I've got the stats here. 13 games. He did complete 63% of his passes, 2,586 yards, only 14 touchdowns to 8 interceptions passing wise.
Right.
Now, to go off of what you said with the ground and pound type game, he rushed for 862 yards and had 11 touchdowns rushing.
He may be the fastest guy on the team. Like, he's that fast. Yeah. So he likes to take off. Malzahn wouldn't let him throw. If you look at the rest of those stats, you'll see he barely had any passes over 25 yards. They were all little short dumps, little here, and they knew we couldn't throw the ball last year. We were scared to throw it, and they came after him. And I think that was our biggest issue, last season.
So I think he needs to take a big time jump, and if he's dropping down or stepping down as the if he's stepping down as the
caller,
calling the plays, whoever it is, you said they're gonna go more up tempo spread type.
Yep. Yeah, they're going back to kind of what we were with McKenzie Milton. When it was a very fast moving offense. It was, if you come after me, I'm going to throw it over your head. If you don't come after me, I'm going to run it down. I'm going to run around you because we're going to be faster than you. So, and that's what we thought we were getting last year. Malzahn, you would watch the games. It was so slow compared to what we're used to. You look at our last couple our coaches, with Heupel at Tennessee now, and we had Frost, at Nebraska now, but these guys were fast offensive coaches. So yeah, it's Malzahn, in our opinion, even though it seemed fast, they was a slow game for us, not what we're used to seeing.
It's almost like going from college to NFL.
It was very much like that. Yeah, hammer in the running.
The game doesn't really slow down as far as like overall speed, but play calling and
Yep.
the way they manipulate the game and
Yep.
stuff like that. I understand that. So did you happen to watch the spring game? I kind of went online and was looking for if there were
Yeah.
spring games. Was there a spring game?
There was a spring game, the black and gold. Yep. I didn't get a chance to go. I am on some forums that we got pretty good communication. I am one of the shareholders for this school, so I get pretty good updates from internally. It went well. We had no major injuries, which was great. Our only major injury was our kicker. Boomer. He should be back. I saw an update the other day. He's close to being back. But that was pre spring game. So the game went well. We could clearly see that Plumlee ran the ones. McCain is running the twos, the transfer from USF, who's a local. I think he went to Seminole High or somewhere right there, right by UCF. So he kind of came back home. So we've got two really strong quarterbacks. So yeah, I'm hoping we'll see a lot different offense this year, just based on the spring game. Guys throwing the ball a lot more than we were running it.
Absolutely. So what do you think if you looked at the team overall, not only just the quarterback play, but let's just put that aside for a second. What do you think, other than the quarterback situation, what do you think is the biggest need? What do they need to improve on going into this next season?
Yeah, defensive line. We lost a bunch of guys on the D line. So hopefully we got some good transfers. We got some really young freshmen that we're hearing. One of them, I could tell you his name here in a second. He has just been like a standout. Ricky Barber's. We've got Ricky Barber again. He transferred in, but we've got one other kid, John Walker. If you look him up, I mean, they're talking this kid up like I've never seen. He's just going to be an absolute animal. So he's going to be big on there. He's a freshman out of Kissimmee. So we're looking forward to seeing him really get on the field because we're hearing big things about him. He was our biggest recruit, one of our highest rated recruits ever.
True freshman then coming in?
True freshman. He should start, and he's just he could have gone probably anywhere.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yep.
So moving on, what is your impression when you first heard your initial thoughts on UCF moving to the Big 12?
About time. Like finally. It's funny. Like I hear people all the time and they're like, well, why haven't you guys made the move? Like, why didn't you just go to another conference? And people don't understand how hard it is to get an invite and how much time and effort and money goes into getting an invite. It's not like, hey, we want to go, sign us up. When you go to another conference, they now have to share $40-50 million of their revenue with you. You have to be able to prove that your school is worth that. So it's your TV markets, it's your fan base, it's your travel, it's your team, it's all these donors. How much money do you have coming in? There's so many things I've learned about being a donor and being part of that group, of how important it is to get the city behind you and everything else to make a move like that. So to hear when we Big 12, put it this way, we made $8 million last year. After 2 years, because we don't get the full benefit, I think we go to like $20 million this year, which is a tremendous amount of money. We'll end up around $50 million with the new deal in 2 years. So it just totally changes it just changes the athletic budgets. It frees you up to compete against all these other schools.
You believe that with you guys moving to the Big 12, how much of an impact in Florida do you think that will have towards recruiting? Because you guys compete with Florida,
it's huge.
Florida State, Miami. Those are just the big names.
Yeah, I mean, the most recent guys we've been getting, we've got more 4-stars right now already committed for 24 than we've actually ever had on a commitment list when it's done. So we're winning these battles against Florida State, against Miami, against Florida, against even Alabama. The other day we had a big one, but Oregon's and just your big names. We're winning battles against them. They know they can probably come here and play a little bit more than they're going to be able to, as compared to a Georgia and Alabama. You really got to wait your turn, and you're going to have to do that at UCF too. But they have a better opportunity to get on the field a little sooner, maybe a little bit more as a freshman. They might not start, but they'll be able to play a little bit more and get on the field and get some reps. So, but it's been huge. I mean, our recruiting class will will probably this year go down as the best recruiting class ever, and that really has to do with the Big 12. It has to do with NIL too. We've set up the Kingdom at UCF, and it's a fan funded NIL cooperative. We're able to pay these kids what other schools are offering. So they're getting benefits. We've got a great co-op program. We've got it set up on monthly payments as small as like $12. They did a big 12 push, $12 a month. I mean, just trying to get people signed up all the way up to, the $1,000 a month donors, and then you go into your big athletic donors of 25,000, like shareholders, like we start at 25,000 and go up. So, we just got I think it was like a $5 million commitment from one family. And so we're starting to see these huge numbers that a lot of the other blue buds, they have. So we're reaching into the younger pockets. So
yeah, that'll be great for you guys' program overall. So
yep.
That'll help you guys get the talent you guys need coming in.
Yep.
So looking at your guys' big move into the Big 12, you've got now 4 new teams: Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and BYU, that all got added to the Big 12. Now, from the last year's teams that were in the Big 12, you only have 2 teams that won 10 or more games. TCU, which we know how good they did. They finished 13-2, 9-0 in the conference. And then you've got Kansas State that finished 10-4 and 7-2 in the conference overall. So with that being said, with the addition of Cincinnati, Houston, you guys, BYU, how do you guys think it's going to add to that competition to really heighten it in the division and compete with the teams like TCU?
Yeah, I think it's going to take maybe a year or two of some definite recruiting. But you look back, Cincinnati had a hell of a run there for a couple of years nationally. We had a hell of a run for a couple of years nationally. So we know the programs can compete against these schools. I mean, you watch Cincinnati, they went off and won their bowl game. We won against Auburn. TCU's, look at what TCU's doing. Houston made a run a couple of years ago, an almost undefeated season. So we know that they can compete. It's going to take a little while. We get that. But I think in conference, I'm looking at the schedule right now. I mean, it's a good schedule. I mean, but we're lucky we don't have TCU, but we got Kansas State, and we got Oklahoma, West Virginia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Houston. I mean, these are going to be good programs. So I think the whole program. I think the way that the Big 12 spread out to the East Coast to Florida is huge for them. Cincinnati, West Virginia. It is coming this direction. I wouldn't be surprised to see them bring a few more schools in. We've been hearing quite a bit about 4 more schools coming in, probably like your Colorado, something out west. If the Big 12 doesn't really put together a good TV package, they keep claiming they're going to have this, but you look at Utah and Colorado and some of these schools out west that could really benefit by coming east. I mean, West Coast football it hasn't been very good. It's been a long time since it's been good. So we're still I'm still kind of intrigued by what'll happen, more so with the West Coast teams, because I think there'll be 4 more teams coming in the next couple of years.
They need to change the name of this conference. I mean, you got Big 12, and you got 14 teams. Last year you had 10, so it's
I wouldn't doubt to see 16 teams easily in this conference in the next couple of years. There was a great interview I watched with ESPN did with the new Big 12 commissioner. Completely non-football guy, didn't know nothing about football, but brought him in for an outsider's view, and has really kind of come in and shook them up, because he basically said, we're not going to do the things the way we used to do it. That was old and boring. So they are looking to say, can we be the national, can we be this national conference to compete against SEC and Big Ten? I mean, those guys have the most money. But I think if you get enough good programs across the country, and it's all about TV. So if you had games started in the morning on the East Coast, and you played all day long, all night long until the last game on the West Coast, that's TV money. That's all it's about, is TV money.
Absolutely. Talking about, you ran through the whole schedule already. And I'm looking at it again here too. Besides Oklahoma, and I understand some of these other teams are really good. They have great traditions and stuff like that. But based off of last year, besides Houston, like Oklahoma to me would be your first really
Well, you got Kansas State
hurdle to get over, let's say.
You got Kansas State there, and then Baylor. You know, I mean, I think Oklahoma's the first real big. That's our first big, and it's away. It's at Oklahoma. It's against Dylan Gabriel, our former quarterback, and Jeff Levy, our former offensive coordinator. So that's a monster game for us. Not only for some revenge, but just because it's going to be a national spotlight game. They're leaving the conference, after this year with Texas. So it's a huge, or maybe next year, it's a huge opportunity for us to get up and really go play on such a big national level in conference. So
now I'm going to ask you something off topic when it comes to the conference and off team topic. Texas, I did an episode of this a couple weeks ago about talking about Texas and their quarterback situation with Ewers and Manning. Now everybody's blowing this Ewers kid up huge, greatly. I even saw on CBS Sports actually ranked, this is weeks ago, Texas at, I believe it was number 5 or 6 in the nation, in the top 25 after going, what'd they go? 8-5 last year.
I mean, I don't buy. I mean, we never really see a true freshman quarterback come in and really take over. I mean, it takes them a year or two. I just don't see how they can. They do this every year with the SEC teams. I mean, it is what it is. Most of these teams come in, they rank them all up way high, and then they get their ass handed to them all year long. I mean, Florida will probably be the same way this year. They're going to get the rankings because they're Florida. And I guarantee you, Florida, they may win 6 games. If they get bowl eligible, they'll probably be lucky this year. I mean, they have no quarterback. They're just going to I think they're going to get handed to them in the SEC. And you're right, like Texas, like it's a big hype. They want them on TV. It's all about the name recognition and the quarterback. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think a freshman quarterback can dominate a league like the SEC. I think it's too hard. I think they'll get them, and it'll take them a year or two to really establish themselves.
Well, Texas football is always intriguing to me because all you ever hear is, "Oh, Texas is the greatest state of."
When's the last time they won anything?
Yeah, exactly.
So
I mean, you got Florida has so many kids that get recruited to the next level. I mean, if you go down and you look at, I always go back to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper played for my Raiders at one point, but what school did he go to? Alabama. But where did he come from?
Florida.
He came from down in Miami area.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those big top schools usually come to Florida for their kids.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot come from Texas.
No, and Georgia's got a lot. Our recruiting class this year was a ton of Georgia. I had it up here a second ago. I don't know what I did with it. But yeah, we've got I'm looking at, no joke, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 or 6 kids right now that's a third of our recruiting class out of Georgia.
So looking at the schedule, what game on that schedule is one that can't miss for you? Like, you have to go to that. Like, you just circle that. Like, this is the one I'm eating at.
Yeah. So West Virginia is our homecoming game. A lot of friends from West Virginia, and it's going to be a great time. West Virginia is just a great tailgating, partying school, and they will come strong to Orlando. It's an easy flight, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And I really think the other game is that Oklahoma game. That's the away game that I think most people are circled. They don't want to miss. They're all trying to figure out how to get up to that game. That one's huge. For me personally, the Cincinnati game, we've played Cincinnati for years, back and forth. I love the Cincinnati Stadium. If you've never been to Nipper Stadium, it's one of the greatest college football stadiums in the country. It's small. It's in the middle of their campus. They just redid the entire stadium. So, and that was a big rival for us. But that's for me. I love Cincinnati Stadium, the Nipper Stadium. It's a great time. Oklahoma is probably the biggest one circled for most fans. I'm looking forward to West Virginia because I love the tailgate, and that will be homecoming, and it will be out of control for 2 days in Orlando. I
might have to come there with you.
That will be a fun one. I promise. I I bought extra tickets for that game, and I never saw my phone blow up so much for a game when they announced it was homecoming. People just started calling me like, "Can we please come? Can you get us in the game? Can we come tailgate?"
That's epic.
Yeah, for whatever reason, a lot of people in this area with New Smyrna Beach area, a lot of West Virginia people, tons. It's random. Even Huggins, that just got fired as the basketball coach, his condo's here in New Smyrna. His daughter lives here. Like, so
Wow.
this random like West Virginia crew is in. So this is going to be a lot of fun, particularly for us.
I can tell you, living over here in Clearwater, you don't get that at Tampa Stadium. You don't get that at USF.
You don't get much of the USF game.
But,
so
yeah,
they're hurting. I saw they were ranked in the New American USF. Obviously, we hate USF here at UCF. They were second to last picked in their conference, and their conference has a lot of new schools coming from very small conferences, and they were still picked second to last.
Well, when you win one game last year,
and they didn't get any recruits. I mean, they lost more guys than they got. I mean, I think they're going to be a train wreck. So I'm glad for them.
All right, so Travis, looking at this coming up season, we've gone over the schedule. We've talked about the quarterback situation. We talked about what's needed on defense to get better. What are your expectations and / predictions for this upcoming year heading into it?
No, I'm going to stay pretty confident. I'm going to say 8-4.
8-4.
I think we've got a fairly decent schedule. I think we'll be okay. I think we'll win some games. I think we'll lose some close ones. I think we'll be all right. I think our quarterback situation's in a good spot. We got great running backs. Really excited about the running backs. A lot of good receivers. So I think we'll be explosive. I think we'll be fine. I think we'll score enough points, and I think 8-4.
8-4, huh? So what 4 do you think are going to be a little bit more the ones you think you possibly might lose?
Yeah, the Oklahoma game is definitely a big one. And I lost my schedule here in front of me. I'm going to go by memory here. Baylor is going to be a tough one.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple of these away games where we're just not used to traveling to some of these big stadiums. We've got Texas Tech. I believe that one is away as well. I think our guys are going to have to learn a lot with travel, not having a huge fan base in these stadiums. I mean, we're a young fan base. We're going to travel the best we can, but these are not like the flights we used to take. They were hour flights across the Southeast kind of, and now we're 2.5, 3 hour, 4 hour, travel times just to get to these destinations. So team's going to be for an experience of definitely learning how to travel. So
looking at the schedule, I've got the away games. You've got at Boise State, at Kansas State.
But Kansas State will be a tough game.
You're going to actually host Baylor.
Yep.
You'll be at Kansas and then have to travel the next week to Oklahoma.
Yep.
Then you've got at Cincinnati and at Texas Tech, like you said. So,
yeah, those are the ones. I mean, I see, honestly, I think we got a pretty good, fair schedule. I think there's a lot of winnable games on there. I think the biggest thing that we're going to have to get used to is with those off weekends where we used to still pull out wins just because we could overpower these other schools in the American. You can't do that anymore. You have an off weekend, you lose. That's kind of how I look at the new schedule. Like, these other schools will beat you up. They're just as big, just as strong. You have an off week, you're gonna have an L.
I think I'm a little bit more optimistic than you. I'm gonna say two losses.
2. And I'll take that all day long.
And the 2, and again, I'm not really a big UCF fan, but I think the Kansas State game and the Oklahoma game really stand out. I think you guys will pull it off against Houston, but everybody else has got kind of it's a toss-up here and there, but I think you guys can pull out. I think you guys can pull it out against these other teams.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think the thing that I'm holding that worries me is some of the travel. I just don't know if we're used to it yet. Even from a staff standpoint, a school standpoint, I just don't know how ready they're going to be and how quickly they're going to adapt to traveling the way they're going to have to travel. It's hard. It affects these kids, and they're going to be ready for it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely 100% right. Travel is a big situation when it comes to college football, especially. Pros, not so much. I mean, they always talk about it in the pro football game, but I think for pro, you're a pro. I mean, you're used to traveling. You're used to living in.
Yeah. These kids are 18, 19 years old. Some of them never been on a plane.
Yeah.
You know, they've never left Florida, or you know, they've never experienced this jet lag, and we're not staying on the East Coast. There's a lot of back and forth. There's crossing, you know, time zones, and you know, it'll be interesting to see how they handle it for sure. No, I got a good dig at USF there. They're going to be terrible. That's good, and I think Florida's going to be terrible this year as well. So that's even better. But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, I'm ready for college football. I think we have 36 days till we kick off. We kick off on a Thursday night, which is going to be fun. I love kicking off on Thursday night because we get to enjoy the whole opening college football weekend and watch everybody else as well. So
Yeah, because I don't think NFL football even starts on Thursday night by then.
yeah, it's the next week. So for me, it'll be a 4-day binger of college football.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Definitely gonna have to get on that too. So
yep.
Well, just want to say thank you for coming in today, Travis. Again, everybody, make sure you guys get down there and subscribe and comment in the comment section about UCF football. And thanks again for coming in, Travis.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to this episode of Clueless Sports Dad Podcast. Tune in for more episodes by following us and subscribing. And don't forget to hit that like button.